Hello everyone, and welcome to first Dasharo user group meeting. I'm Piotr Król. I'm founder of 3MDEP, the company behind Dasharo, and we are happy to welcome you to this meeting. And maybe let's start with our first section. What is meeting about? Like how the format would look like. So I don't know if you attended previous vPub meetings. Today there will be already sixth vPub, but we decided to make some additional, more structured mini conference meeting before vPub, which we called Dasharo User Group, and we dedicated it to our users, of Dasharo open source firmware distribution, and everyone who wants to learn more about open source firmware. And we want vPub to be more discussion between developers, between privacy enthusiasts, privacy conscious users, and people who develop privacy enhancing technologies. And in Dasharo user group, we would like to show you a couple interesting things regarding roadmap, regarding Dasharo achievements in a given quarter. We want to make this meeting quarterly. So we're starting. More details you can find on vpub.dasharo.com. There is list of events. There are even some historical events there. You can find presentations and topics we discussed. This meeting is recorded. The vPub will not be recorded because it would be like casual talking and maybe less structured than Dasharo user group. So what's the schedule of Dasharo user group? So right now we have like short greetings and agenda. Then I will talk about Dasharo roadmap, what kind of platforms we support, and what we plan in this year, maybe a little bit about the next year. Then Wessel Klein-Snackenborg, who is a founder and CEO of Nova Custom, will talk a little bit how open source firmware and Nova Custom hardware can revolutionize laptop experience. Then Tomek Żyjewski from 3MDEP will talk about Dasharo Toolsuit, which is Yocto-based Linux dedicated to deploy, update, and do various other stuff with open source firmware, especially Dasharo. Then Michał Żygowski will talk about Dasharo features, and maybe we'll dive a little bit more into details of the previously presented roadmap. And then we will present PC Engine's survey summary, which will explain next steps about support for PC Engine's open source firmware. PC Engine is a Switzerland company who makes a network appliance, very popular among open source firmware enthusiasts, among OpenSense and pfSense users. So each block will take 15 minutes. After that, there will be 5 minutes to answer some questions. Our support will choose some questions from the chats just to avoid looking for the questions by the presenter. So maybe let's ask ourselves why we are here, why Dasharo, why even bother. So I have a short story for you. Here is Bob, and Bob, like every day, looking at news and see this weird, scary articles in tech news, and is concerned to some extent about Spectre meltdown, UEFI vulnerabilities, firmware low-level stuff, and thinking like there is a lot of problem about that lately, and I wonder if this affects my computer. And then starting to research and think about how I can mitigate that, how I can make sure that my BIOS is not affected, how I can make sure that BIOS vendor for my hardware, for my favorite hardware is prepared for that and will deliver updates on time. How I can make sure that my firmware and whatever my computing works on is trustworthy. And do this research and find a lot about open source firmware, about Core Boot, maybe LibreBoot, maybe Linux Boot, maybe various other projects like Heads, and think like maybe this will help me to some of these problems, some of these concerns that I have. So he calls his favorite computing device shop and asking about open source firmware. In most cases, except some wonderful cases where this story ends differently. In most cases, it will be, what is this open source firmware? Like, I'm not sure if they support that. I'm not sure what is this. And after like multiple calls like that, this computing device shop manager, owner, starting to think, maybe there is something to this open source firmware after all, and maybe it is worth to ask my silicon vendor or maybe my provider of my ODM about if they can provide this to me. So they call silicon vendor. And most silicon vendors in this case will say, yes, we know about that, but we have recommended list of our partners. Those are independent BIOS vendors. This is fixed list of BIOS vendors. And this shop owner going to those BIOS vendors asking, and most typically get the same answer. I'm sorry, but this is against our business model. I'm sorry, we don't support that. I'm sorry, we have our own product, which is closed source, licensed, and we would like you to use that one. So what we would like to change, how we would see the world. So we would like to see the world in that way. So we have the same Bob looking at the same news, thinking about the similar solution, but when calling to his favorite computing device shop, he get answer, yeah, I have this list of compatible open source firmware distribution. Which one you want to have? And then Bob can pick and choose, and align to his threat model, and probably satisfy some problems and mitigate some problems that he thinks he have. Yeah, so that's about the vision, how we want to change ecosystem for the users. And let's say maybe a little bit about the community and how community evolved over last, I would say like almost 3 years. But we did it in various with various activity, depending on the margins, depending on the community interest. To be honest, we accelerated recently, but it started like around 2020 when we created GitHub in November. Then we started some vPubs. Then we started Matrix channel, which gathered quite a lot of interest. We have over 100 members there already. And around April 2022, we released first 0.1 version, which supported modern Intel Alder Lake MSI Z690 mainboard. And that was like kind of small boom because everyone was happy to get modern hardware. So yeah. And right now we have first Dasharo user group. It's 16th March. Maybe a little bit about GitHub. On the left side, you see statistics for GitHub, like 360 issues reported, 125 fixed. We merged to our core boot fork 318 pull requests. We had like over 1,500 comments, over 50 contributors to these comments. I'm saying about everyone externally from 3MDEP and Dasharo team. And to UEFI fork, the EDK2 fork that we maintain, we had 46 pull requests. So we would like to thank Thierry Laurion from Insurgo, Wessel from Novacastor, Novacustom, Zilblazer, Moriel5, Firminator, and René Hoy, who contributed the most to the GitHub issues and to the GitHub pull requests. About the Matrix, Matrix is very active. Over that time, we had over 20,000 messages. It's about 50 messages a day. There was 104 people there, but I saw already today a lot joined, so there's probably more. Most active supporters on Matrix, except 3MDEP team, are Zilblazer, Collector, YHN, Technophil, Demi, Creative Nothing, and Silis. I would like to thank every user who contributed, every developer who contributed to Dasharo, and I hope this will make Dasharo open source firmware distribution even better. And I plan to report this information to you during the next Dasharo user group meetings. About matrix space, which is our main point of discussion, there are 20 channels. Not everyone knows that there are 20 channels there. The most actives are Dasharo General. There is a connected channel, official channel, ERC channel of CubesOS, which is bridged to Matrix. There is Dasharo support, where you can look for support for your Dasharo deployments. There is Dasharo developers vPub, which most of you should be in this channel to have discussion today after the Dasharo user group. And there is also our famous Strange Boot project connected, which is DRTM, open source DRTM implementation, which we're trying to integrate in mainline Linux kernel, and which we will use in CubesOS anti-VMate implementation. Some interesting facts. There is Dasharo IRC channel bridget if someone wants to use that. There are some friendly projects channels like Fietka, the firmware editor, a project made by Daniel Maslowski for looking inside the binary. There is a trustworthy platform module channel, TWPM, project sponsored by NLNet to create open source hardware TPM. Fobnail is our attestation token, attestation server on a token. Also other projects sponsored by NLNet. FWPD for BSD, we have also that channel, although it is not longer very active because most of the stuff was upstreamed. And there is very inactive channel Core EC, where we try to create our own or with partner with others open source version of embedded controller firmware. And that's it for this section. Do we have any questions? Okay. Yeah, so I guess we can slowly switch to the next one.